Alright guys, so welcome back. So today we're going to look at how we deal with images in InDesign. So what I'm going to do, and also how to place a story into InDesign, right, and for basic page layout. So last time we looked at the pages, panels, and creating pages and stuff like that. So I set up a document here without a bleed, just to make things a little more simple, so we could look at the column, the tree column layout that I have set up. So I'm going to leave the first page blank, and I'm going to go on to the first spread, because usually the first page is left for the cover page. Sometimes we work separately and create the cover in a separate program like Photoshop or something. Anyway, this is our spread, and I'm going to place a story here. So go to File, Place, and I'm going to look for the story. It's a short story. There it is. It's a Word document, and hit Open. And if you notice that the cursor is loaded with text, and it's loaded with the first few lines, so what I could do is click once and it will drop the text into the column by default. Right now, let me undo that. Now if I click and drag, it will lay out the text within that text frame I've just created. Right, so what we could do is lay it out into these three columns each, right? So I'm going to click once, and this is the gutter, so I want to start the other column here, so I'm going to go down to this little plus sign, which is a red plus sign, and hit it, and you'll see it turns into a play symbol. And again, I'm just going to click in the corner of the column and just keep going on and doing that. Right, so this story filled out 1, 2, 3, 4, well, 3.5 columns, right? So remember, we could start formatting here. So let's first off create, double click with carriers to highlight a word, and let's click 5 times to highlight the whole story. And I could go up in my type tool and change the font. Let me change it to looking for something like Garmond, or not Garmond, Gill Sans, or something sans serif. What looks sans serif here? Not Helvetica. Let's go with Gill Sans. Right, and also we could play up with the paragraphing. We could do last line align left like this, and if you notice now, the hyphenation is occurring a lot more because of the spacing, right? So what we could do is increase or decrease the hyphens, right? And to do that, we could go into the drop down menu here on the end of the options bar and click hyphenation, and it says here words with at least 5 letters we go to hyphenate. So we could increase that to 6, put a preview on, and you can see how this would affect our document itself and the layout itself. Now you don't want it, okay, let me do this really big. You don't want this occurring because you'll have big rivers occurring like here in between your document, which this one isn't so bad yet, but you don't want to have too little hyphens, and you don't want too much hyphens, so you need to find that balance which works. So I think around 8 works. So you want to avoid the rivers, and rivers are those big spacings between words in a paragraph. So here I have the 1, 2, 3, 4 columns there, and I'm going to make some room here for the header, and I'm just going to pull it down, and we can put a nice subheading up here, and you see it adjust for itself out here. And let's type something for the heading: a short story. And because this is a heading, we could change this type to something a little more creative, because it isn't that many words, and it might be easier to read when it's little words. You could go for something like a cursive type, right? So you could go about there. Let's put a full stop there, might look better, right? And then we could add in another text box, written by Joe Smith, right? And we could change this font also to Gill Sans, but make it bold. Yeah, that could work. And we could stick it right there. Right, we could go into our preview just to see how this looks. Maybe let's try and align this to the left. So we'll go left align. Yeah, that looks a little better. And what we could do also is make this all caps by just hitting the capital letters there, and we can make it a little smaller. Yeah, that looks okay, right? Just to show you the variations that we have available to us in the options bar for the text, right? We could go on and change color if we wish, but I don't think that's necessary for this tutorial. Maybe later on we could do it. So let's go back to the normal layout again. So what we want to do here is kind of, let's add increase the paragraph spacing. So the paragraph spacing would be up here, and it would be one of these, right? So what I'm going to do is, first off, let's add a drop cap. Yeah. Yeah. And we can leave it. Maybe let's tint it gray. Bring it to about 53%. Yeah. And yeah, paragraph size. Let's increase it 2 inch. That's a little too much. 1/4 inch is fine. Right, and now we could start adding an image. So let's say this story came with an image to it, and now we need to add the image. So we could go to File, Place, an image, a landscape image in this case. And if you notice, it's loaded up on the cursor there, and you could bring in multiple images at the same time, but my advice to you is bringing one by one in this case, right? So we could click and the image would come in at its native resolution. That's not what we want. Or we could click and drag, but when we click and drag now, it comes in at the same ratio of the resolution of the image, so we can't really skew it per se, right? So just you could resize it, and I'm thinking about there, and now we have the image placed. Now having the image placed is one thing. Let's say we have the image placed and we want to resize it now. When we resize, you realize it crops the image out, right? This is a problem. Well, it's not really a problem, it's exactly how InDesign works. So let's say we want to scale it in and fit it within this area here, just this a bit of area here, right? Notice let's make it a square, a squares image. So notice the resolution is changed, but the image is still in the back. So one, we could right click and go to fitting. Yes, it's also an object fitting, and it says fill frame proportionally. So this is the frame, the square frame, squarish frame we have now, and it says fill frame proportionally, and then it says fit content proportionally. So it's going to fill the frame proportionally. So let's try that one. So what it did, it filled the frame proportionally, but if you remember the image, it's not skewed, but the other image is out here somewhere, right? Let's edit, undo. Let me show you the difference. And fit content proportionally. And if we do that, it fits the whole image within the proportions of the square, right? So that's why we have this white space here. So really and truly, the one I'm looking for right now is fitting fill frame proportionally. Now there are others where content away fit frame to content, fit content to frame. Now these two, fit frame to content and content to frame, I do recommend them because it doesn't do it proportionally, right? And you end up with a skew image for these. So just be careful and aware of these. Center content is obviously centering the content within the frame, right? So once we have this going, we can now place it where we want it, and now we have the issue of the text behind the image. Now to fix that, we need to bring up a window called text wrap. So that's under window, text wrap, and text wrap is basically these little icons that you have seen before if you use Microsoft Office. And it says here no text wrap, that's what we have. Wrap around bounding box, this is the bounding box here. And it says wrap around object shapes, we'll get to object shapes later. Jump object, jump to next column. Now these changes, these two menu items have been added, I think, in the CC versions, right? So basically it's top and bottom. But anyway, we will go to wrap around bounding box, and now we see when I click that, the text is just at the edge of the box and it's not under it anymore. So we can go to the preview menu and see what it looks like, and it really doesn't look that good because it's so tight here. So what we're going to do is give ourselves some breathing room, right? And with our object selected, we can now have the chain link clicked and increase it, right? Now this chain link means the top offset and the side and the bottom offset will be equally spaced. As you can see here, there's the offset here, and that looks about good. So now we can go to the preview again and you can see the difference with the object, right? Now let's say we have this image here, and yes, it's a mountain, but we wanted a little less sky in it, and we know that there's some space down here. So what we could do is click on it on the little circle here, and you'll get this brown box. Now this brown box will tell you that there is the remainder of the image where it's located. So now we could go down to get more of the sky, or up to get more of the mountain, like that. And that is really what we want. So whenever you click and you get the brown box, it means that you can move the image within that frame. Okay, so this is now if we pull this brown, it will skew the image. This brown anchor bounding box, it'll skew the image like that. That's not what you want to do. And obviously if you hold from the corners here, it will scale it while holding shift, right? So again, it's just getting to understand how images work in InDesign and how we get them to function, right? So I'm going to bring in a secondary image just to show you. Again, file, place, And now I'm just going to demonstrate bringing in multiple images. So I'm just going to hold these two and hit open and show you what happens. So now we have, let me go back to, always try and work in normal layout, don't lay out stuff in preview. So now I can click once and drop an image here, and twice to drop another image here, right? And I could just crop it to the margin, right, without affecting the quality of the image. Right, so now we have images that really complement the story. So if I go, actually these images have nothing to do with the story, but let's imagine that they do. So this is basically how we add images and how to make them behave with text. So there you have it, just to lay out a simple spread, a simple way of laying out a spread and using images with text. So see you in the next one.